Hey, shalom, shalom, brother Quash. Back on that scene, back on that social media scene. Got something on my mind. A brother has something on his mind. I'm doing a stream on OBS. I hope it goes through. I don't know if it's going to go through. I was watching the news this morning, and Trump claims that he's going to unleash hell, unleash absolute hell on Russia tonight. And that should be not Russia. I'm sorry. I'm scrolling while I'm doing this. I'm sorry. I'm trying to get myself together. On Iran tonight. So I don't know how true that is. That should be very interesting. If that's true and if that plays out. Now I was watching this video with Nick Fluentes, I think his name is. Supposed to be a real racist son of a b. But at the same time, I can't blame him for being racist. We're racist to a certain degree, but not in the same mannerism as white people. Not in the same mannerism. But nonetheless, we claim to be the men of the Most High and the next rulers of the New World to come, based on the Most High's judgment. And in my opinion, that's true. And then on the flip side, you have, white people, so-called white people, and Chinese and Japanese. They themselves claim to want to, survive. And that's very difficult considering the times. Everything is so up and down. I was supposed to go away. I tried to plan for that some time ago. And those of you who know me well, I like going to Mexico, man. But you see what's happening in Mexico. They're flipping the hell out. Ever since that brother, I think he's a brother, but he was killed out there in Mexico, big drug runner, or one of the main leadership of the cartels was put down. They burning up cars and destroying buildings and attacking people, including Americans. So, a lot of Edomites, so-called white people, they like to go on what's called spring break. That's a wrap. They can't go there. It's to Florida for them. But it's not too wise to travel abroad these days because it's very dangerous out there. Very dangerous these days. I remember I was in the gym and I was telling them I was on my way to Mexico, and this brother told me you don't have to worry about anything, because I was concerned about my safety in Mexico, and he said you don't have to worry about that. They mainly attack white people. You don't have to worry about that. You're a brother. They ain't gonna really go after you out there. So that kind of like took me back. But I love Mexico. I love going to Mexico. But nonetheless, I decided to fall back. I'm supposed to leave. If anything, I would be leaving tomorrow, and I decided to fall back on that. But also, we have to look at what's happening in the world as well, because the president or the leader of Iran, he claims that they will never surrender. They will never surrender. And that's cool. Yeah, I mean, if I were them, I wouldn't surrender as well. I wouldn't surrender. But there's a price to pay. And I was having a back and forth with a brother, and he agrees that Iran should not surrender, but there's a price to pay for that, because the same way Americans are suffering, or will suffer. Make sure this is up. If this is a long war, I personally don't believe it's going to be a long war, but that's the key thing. If Iran wants to survive and force the arm of the powers that be, that's the so-called small hat JEW, Bibi, Netanyahu, then under him, not over him, but under him, because America is a puppet for Israel. I don't know how they forced that into position. Well, I know how they forced it in position. I'll take that back. That America would be greatly affected if this is a long war. But I personally don't think it's going to be a long war. But, you know, who am I? I could be wrong. I could be wrong. Trump claims that tonight he's going to unleash absolute hell on them. And, you know, and America has dropped 2,000 bombs on 2,000 missile launches or strategic positions of Iran. 2,000s. And he has unleashed absolute hell in Iran. So what can be worse that he's planning to do tonight that he hasn't already done? That's the question. And how long can the Iranian people hold out with this barrage of rocket fire and just absolute hell? People have been ordered to stay away from Tehran. I think that's how you pronounce it. I guess that's the capital. I believe it's the capital. Because I guess they're going to focus more fire and hell strategically in that area. But 2,000 bombs, and the rumor that was going around is that America is running out of artillery. Again, you know, the hate is real towards Donald Trump and his country. In the media, and I was explaining to this brother that 90% of the media, 90% don't cover anything that Trump does well, supposedly relating to what he does well. But the key thing to know is that they are so divided against each other that 90% of the media is biased against Donald Trump. 90%. Now, if that's not division, I don't know what division is, because the media overall is controlled by the super elite, in my opinion. This is why Israel gets no flack. They get no flack because the media is in Israel's back pocket. The news is in Israel's back pocket. The judicial system is in Israel's back pocket. And I believe, this is a long stretch, I believe that the medical industry is in Israel's back pocket as well. I was watching a very interesting back and forth with Tucker Carlson and Ted Cruz. And Tucker was putting the pressure on this guy because he couldn't accept the fact. Let me turn this off. Make sure I'm not getting any reverb. He couldn't accept the fact that AIPAC, a Jewish organization, was in favor of the interests of Israel. But a lot of people are starting to see the reality. A lot of people are starting to see what the hell is really going on in this country. And they're waking up. Make sure the chat is on. They're waking up. No, it didn't come up, huh? Yes, it did. But it's all good in the long run, because in the end, according to biblical prophecy, we win. We win according to biblical prophecy. So it doesn't matter how people feel or what they think or what's on their mind. God's will, that's what's going to come to pass. That's what's going to come to pass. So it would be very beneficial if Iran can hold out. Can they hold out for another 3 weeks? Can they hold out for another 2 months or 3 months? I don't think so, man, because that was the position of the Palestinian. But this is a very different war, and this is a very different situation compared to the Palestinians. And we got to remember that the beast was put in power for a reason. The Most High has him in power. So we got to consider those things. Nonetheless, the Most High is running the show, and this is war. Will we go into World War III? That is a very, very interesting subject and situation that may transpire, but then maybe it won't. We will see. We will see. Very interesting. But it says Iran will never surrender unconditionally, president says. That was 16 hours ago. Those dreaming of Iran's unconditional surrender will take that dream to their graves. President Masoud Pezeshkian, I think that's how you pronounce his name, said on Saturday amid U.S.-Israel airstrikes. He added that Iran will not carry out attacks on missile strikes against neighboring countries. So Iran was so desperate, they were firing missiles into neighboring countries that did business with America, supported America, was infiltrated by America. That's how desperate they were. But it's a strategic move because it would get people to cry out to stop this war. It's a very smart move. I'm not going to take that away. It's a very, very smart move. Can't take that away. So, in doing so, it affects the world. That's the whole thing. If Iran can shake up the world by bombing the Saudis and their oil fields, bombing Iraq, bombing any country that has sold out to the American Satan, it's a good plan. I read an article where, I don't know how true it is. I read an article where Osama bin Laden, he went to the Saudis and he bitched and moaned and pretty much chastised them to their faces that you have sold out to the Americans. You have sold out to the great Satan. Not in those exact words, but I did read an article where he was getting on them because they supposed to follow Allah and the Quran and have a standard based on righteousness and spirituality. But everybody bows to the beast. You can get mad and stomp your feet or believe in whatever you want to believe in. This man has been put in a position of power for a purpose. And nobody's going to destroy this man until it's time for him to fall. Bottom line, that's how it is. That's how it works. I was talking to a brother yesterday, and I was telling him there's a passage or a part of the Josephus, which is a historical book. And in this book, and I don't know how true the story is. It might not be true, but it makes sense to me. In this story, Alexander the Great is confronted by the Jews or vice versa. And the Jews tell him, the Israelites tell him that it's prophesied or it's written in the spirit. I don't know where they read this from. I don't know, maybe the Dead Sea Scrolls. I have no idea. That's why I said I'm kind of iffy. I'm on the fence on that, on the story. But anyway, they said that that it's God's will that he would rule for a certain amount of time. He would be a great man, but we know from reading the Apocrypha, he would be an evil man. We read that when the white man came into power, that evils were multiplied on the earth in the Maccabees, and it's mentioning Alexander. And it's mentioning Alexander crowning his generals, and their generals put crowns on their children's heads. We talked about this 4 weeks ago. And the evils were multiplied on the earth, meaning wherever this man goes, wherever he goes, evils will be multiplied on the earth. Disease would be multiplied in the earth historically. We read about the Europeans coming to various countries in the Caribbean. We read about Europeans coming to the Americas and people of color who had a simple life would just die off. They would just die off from diseases brought to them by the Europeans. Check it out. This is in history. All you got to do is look this up. So wherever this man goes, he doesn't bring good tidings. Then on a spiritual level, the different countries where this man has infiltrated, he has brought fast foods, he has brought movies, pornography, he has brought all the negative attributes that man should not deal with. And it's all for a quick buck. You can be substantially rich by following the deeds, the traits, and the culture of the European man. And I get it. People's backs are so hard pressed against the wall that eventually they cave in to the banks, to the medicines, to the theater, to the movie, to entertainment, which is all based on lust, drugs, and wickedness. When you look really into it, you don't even have to look deep into it. It's right there in your face. But the point I'm making is that this serpent has spread his poison all over the earth, and people are now just catching themselves, or perhaps have been for decades, for centuries, and tried to fend themselves off from this man, but it's not God's prophecy that they would be successful to fend off the evil that this man has plagued the world with. In other words, you might have a culture, you might have a religion or a way of living, and because of hard times and the temptation of serving the devil to get what you need to make an easy life, which they masqueraded in such a way that it's not a bad life, it's not evil, that you accept it as a new form and culture. And then years down the line, you realize that this is not good. KFC, Popeyes, Burger King, McDonald's in countries abroad is not good. Partying and drinking and lustful behavior, you realize that it has covered your initial culture, and now you have taken on a demonic culture, and it's not good. But by the time you realize it's not good, it's so ingrained in the minds of your children. And when they have children, they teach it to their children, and so on and so forth, or so on, that it's a cancer that cannot be cured or stopped. So this is not hard to understand. This is not hard to understand at all. Let me make sure my sound is up. In the minds of your children. This is not hard to understand. This is why the Most High tells us that we shouldn't put our trust in man. This is why the Most High tells us in the book of Revelations, the 12th chapter, that the devil would deceive the whole world. Now, we know no spiritual demon went around and deceived the whole world. We know a spiritual demon entered into one people mainly, and they teach you that it's okay to have an abortion. They teach you it's okay for same-sex unions. They teach you that it's okay to use their drugs. But then when you check it out and look deep into it, you find out that it's not good. Shalom, brother. When you check it out, we find out it's not good. It's very bad to indulge and get caught up into this man's foolishness. Fast forward to 2026, we're now seeing that Israel and Bibi Netanyahu, these guys have power that supersedes any form of righteousness as far as teaching it today. On the level where we should attack the system. Check it out for yourselves. I found this interesting. I think you will too. Check this out with Farrakhan is saying.
Israel is the third most powerful nuclear nation in the world. Did you know that? Think about that. Israel will not confirm or deny that she's a nuclear power. Think about it. But Israel never signed the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty.
So now, if that's true, make y'all think now. If what he's saying is truth, Are you stupid to believe that these people took the jibby jab? You didn't see them taking the jibby jab. I mentioned this 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. Just like they will not sign any agreement to put themselves under any rules as far as carrying nuclear weapons. I saw a thing with Apex. This is a Zionist, wicked program, I believe, to uplift the Zionists and uplift Israel. That's what I believe. In every country that has a program like that or lobbyists, they have to register and sign themselves in as a lobbyist that's from a foreign country in this country within those programs. But Israel doesn't. And I don't believe that. I don't believe for a second that Israel follows the laws that we follows the laws that most American follows, have their children inoculated by law like our children, or even common white people, or what they call the goyim, which is the common herd, or the people outside of their people. I don't believe that they have those same laws pressed on them. And I saw a very interesting video the other day where Donald Trump is told by these same people in his second run, if you run, we will support you. You just have to do what we say, and we will fund your presidency. Now, I don't know how true that is. But it makes sense. It makes sense to me. This is why I say you don't know where this war is going to go. I'm not going to say it's World War III, because I don't think it's World War III, but it could be the door or the opening to World War III. This is why we got to prepare. I've been saying for years that it's time for America to get a kick in her ass. Maybe this is the beginning. I'm not going to say it is. But you got brothers out there saying that this is World War III, and that's not true, because in World War II, France was involved, the UK was involved, America was involved, Japan was involved, China was involved. That's a world war. And they're all shooting at each other. You're a smart brother. You're a smart brother. My Lord says in my book, wait ye upon me. Wait ye upon me. So we're going to wait. But while we're waiting, we got to see the trickery. And maybe and Farrakhan might be onto something. He just might be onto something. But we got to understand how this snake works. The tactics of the snake and how venomous and poisonous the snake is. But check it out.
Is the third most powerful nuclear nation in the world. Did you know that? Think about it. Israel will not confirm or deny that she's a nuclear power. Think about it. But Israel never signed the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. Israel would not allow any atomic energy experts to come in and inspect her.
Why is that? Why is that? How can that country have so much power and influence within America and over all of America's presidents like she has? How is that possible? Unless everything is a goddamn hoax, and it always has been. Now, they have the power to do that. They have the power to make sure, Most High's will, that nobody looks and research what we have been teaching for decades in this country, for years, that we're the chosen people of the Most High. to examine Deuteronomy 28 and the curses and see who the curses fit better, us or them. Who does prophecy fit as God's chosen people, us or them? This is why it's so important for them to vax you, to give you the worst foods, to fill the jails with your men, sisters, to make your men weak, sisters, and to whore you black women out. They are trying to stop prophecy. They are trying to stop God's prophecy. And why is everything in the system geared to make man walk contrary to God's laws? Why is that? Why is that? Men with men, that's contrary to God's laws. It's contrary to God's laws. Women with women, that is contrary to God's laws. Eating the filth that we eat every day is contrary to God's laws. Charging people interest is contrary to God's laws. Unless you're the chosen people and you can do that according to our law. Then you got Easter and Mother's Day and all this garbage, which is contrary to God's law. I showed you a video the other day, or I did a video, it was a good while ago, where these people made millions off the slave trade. Yet the book, the good book, our books told them, because we knew God put us into captivity, but the good book said not to push forward. They went overboard with our captivity to the point where they denied us to see the Most High. They denied us to see the Most High. That wasn't part of the deal. We were supposed to just go into captivity as Israelites, not another people take our identity as Israelites. That's not part of the deal. Then they gave you the white Jesus, gave our great-great-grandmothers the white Jesus, and we started praying to the white Jesus. That wasn't part of the deal. The deal was we would go into captivity as Israelites and learn that we disobeyed God, and that's why blacks, Hispanics, and natives are in captivity. So that wasn't the deal. That wasn't a deal. There you go. Throw out water, brother. Not to forward the affliction. That was that Most High told them they forwarded the affliction. They took it to another level where we couldn't see God. We couldn't see God. Then they're trying to eradicate us as a people off this earth. That's not part of the deal. You can beat us and chain us up. That was part of the deal. But to eradicate us off this earth, that's not part of the deal. Sterilization and remove a woman's inside part so she can't have children, that's not part of the deal. Scientific experiments on the real chosen people of God, that's not part of the deal. So we're seeing God's judgment right now. We're seeing that God is literally exposing them for who they are today. Exposing them. Let me finish playing this real quick.
Nuclear plant in Dimona, Israel. But now she is the prosecuting attorney for non-nuclear Iran.
Unbelievable. It's all a goddamn scam. It's always been a scam, brothers. It's always been a scam. So at the same time, these people are saying they will not submit. They know who the great Satan is. They know. I'm just going to sit back and watch this because tonight, I don't know if it started yet, but tonight Trump said he's going to drop heavy artillery on them. Could you imagine that? 2,000 bombs dropped on strategic positions where there are rocket launchers, factories, places where officers meet at for strategic positions on how to destroy America or attack Israel. 2,000 bombs. And he's saying they got an even bigger mission to drop bigger bombs and to unleash hell on Iran tonight. What does that mean? I mean, seriously, what does that mean? What could that possibly mean? I'm very interested to see what they're doing. You know, last time I saw a video. Where they said, I don't think it was Trump, but they said they haven't even used their lasers yet. Remember years ago we watched the Panama Deception and how you had people in Panama who were saying they had ray guns that was melting cars and people on the streets. They showed a sample of that yesterday, and they said they haven't even used that yet. Now they're saying they're going to use the lasers to knock the drones out of the sky because it's cheaper. Because the drones cost, let's say, $1,000 per drone. And then America was using $10,000 missiles to knock that out. So to save money, one, they captured one of the drones. That's one. And they made their own copy of it. And two, they're going to use these lasers to knock out the drones coming overseas or into Israel or into the Saudis or other countries. Yeah, I got to look that up. I'm going to look that up. But I definitely saw the video, and I know they have that capability from the 80s when they was bombing the hell out of Panama. This man is a mad scientist, brothers and sisters. This dude is the devil. And we've been telling you this for, I don't know how long. How long have we been telling you that this man is a devil? And you overly emotional Negroes, you weak, pathetic, overly emotional Negroes, now you're seeing. But you haven't seen nothing yet. Wait till the hell comes over here in this country. I'm waiting for these sleeper cells. We got a taste of that in Austin, Texas last week. Or this week, earlier this week, I think it was. This man is a monster. So they claim they will not surrender. And, I can't blame them. I can't blame them. But I think they're going to bow. I think they're going to bow. Maybe I'm wrong. I could be wrong. But maybe they're going to bow. So it says Pezeskian, I think that's how you pronounce his name. Pezeskian said Iran's Interim Leadership Council had approved the policy to avoid targeting neighboring states. See, they messed up there. They messed the hell up there because now all the other countries, they ready to get busy on them now. So they really, really dropped the ball there. That was a big, big mistake doing that. But then this morning, which is it's in the same article, they apologized for that. They apologized for attacking the Saudis and various countries. But you remember how America was saying they don't want to put foot soldiers in the country? Remember that? Because it would trigger a lot of hate and anger as far as the American citizens. You got neighboring countries like the Kurds. They ready to do a ground assault on Iran. And Saudi and other countries, they ready to bomb the hell out of Iran. So they messed up there, but it's still a good plan. It was a gamble, but it was a good plan because it would make the world shake. And it was a good plan, but it was a gamble at the same time. It was stupid and it was a gamble. I don't know if that makes sense to you. In other words, their back is against the wall. And this is why I go at it with brothers. You're not going up against America and you think you're going to win like that. Like, look at Rome. Rome was very powerful. Rome was a miniature America in her day. And nobody effed around with Rome. Nobody did that. Because Rome was a superpower. And the only people historically I know that came close to overthrowing Rome, I mentioned it yesterday, was Spartacus and Hannibal. They were the main ones that came close to overthrowing Rome. Check it right here. Not gonna be too long. Oh, I can't. It's too big, man. Let me see if I get this screen. You can see it better here like this. Let me see now. It says Hannibal Barca, the Carthaginian general during the Second Punic War, 2018 to 201 BCE, came the closest. See that? Came the closest to defeating Rome. And this was an Israelite. I believe it was an Israelite because it tells you that in Caesars and Christ by William Durant. He said they were Israelites, the Carthaginians. But it said came the closest to defeating Rome by decimating their armies and occupying much of Italy for over a decade. Isn't that something? Isn't that something? Isn't that something? His tactical masterpiece, the Battle of Caen, what is it? 220. I'm a little tired, sorry. 216 BC, 216 BC, destroyed a massive Roman force. Yet he ultimately failed to take the city of Rome itself. See that? Now, who willed that? God, because Rome is a very important power in the Bible. In the Bible, the Israelites, they were oppressed under the Romans. The Israelites today in 2026 are oppressed under the Romans, or the children of the Romans, to a certain extent, because they're all Esau, to this day. To this day. So Hannibal came the closest, and I believe after Hannibal, in my opinion, was Spartacus. And you had other forces that tried to overthrow the Roman Empire. Hannibal Barca, Carthage, widely considered Rome's greatest threat. He crossed the Alps, won decisive battles at Lake Tresmine, I think that's how it's pronounced, in Canaan, where he eliminated up to 70,000 Romans in one day and brought Rome to the brink of collapse. I saw a documentary on that, and the Romans was ready to concede. They said, let's make a deal with him. And Roman general said, hell no, let's just keep pressing forward. But it was the Most High's will. It was the Most High's will. That's the point I'm making. Nations are set up and they fall based on the Most High. That's not hard to see. That's not hard to understand. It's all up to the Most High, bottom line. So can Iran pull this off? Not by itself. And where is China? Where is Russia? I heard that some threats coming from Russia recently. Where are they? I believe they're being strategic too. They're just going to lay back in the cut. And if it's the Most High's will, they'll make a move. What's hot in the press as of the last, I guess, about 12 hours is that Russia has been secretly giving Iran information on where to shoot missiles at and where the Americans at. And that's what they all do. This is Trump was being interviewed about that. They said this is what they do. You think America wasn't helping the people of the Ukraine, giving them missiles, giving them rocket launchers, giving them strategic sites to attack on behalf of the Americans? You think they wasn't doing that? They all dirty, man. They're all dirty. They're all filthy dirty. That's the point I'm making, man. So Farrakhan is spot on when you check it out. He's spot on. Check this out. So I'm not surprised. None of this surprises me. None of this surprises me. So let's check out this guy. He's supposed to be a racist dude, Nick Fuentes. I'm surprised he's on YouTube. I don't think they're going to strike me for playing him on YouTube, but I'm surprised he's on YouTube. But some of the things he say is solid. I'm not going to take the D out of devil and just make him evil. He's the devil and evil. So I'm not going to go against truth. But you decide. You check it out, and you decide. Check it out.
Seems like a great opportunity to expand the war if they wanted to, or a time to not expand the war and tell people we're not trying to escalate because let's not do that shit. I don't know where you think they're taking this.
Well, it's very interesting, isn't it? Because Iran obviously is targeting all of the Gulf countries, and we know why that is. They're hitting Kuwait, the Emirates, Qatar, Saudi Arabia. And obviously, I think the plan there is by bombing hotels and airports and U.S. military assets in those countries, the goal is to pressure the Gulf countries to lobby Washington to stop the war. These are countries that are now highly dependent on tourism and foreign investment, and it tends to deter foreign investment and tourism if you're getting hit with missiles. You know?
See, it goes back to that money. It always goes back to the money, brothers and sisters. Even in Mexico, like I like going to Mexico, like I mentioned that earlier, in different countries. If there's war all over the damn place or there's sleeper cells, that deters people away from, traveling and hanging out and spending money on liquor and food and hotels and rentals abroad. So war can be beneficial to a demon, but war takes money out of a demon and a wicked man as well.
You know, nobody wants to stay in a hotel that's getting hit with a ballistic missile or a drone or something. And so in the calculation from Iran, if they can weaken these countries' economies, if they can create enough of a fuss, for example, in Dubai, in Doha, in Bahrain, then these Gulf countries will exert political influence on Washington to try to seek an off-ramp and an end to the conflict as quickly as possible.
See that? So it is a good plan to bomb the other countries around them, but then you're taking a chance on them bombing you, and that's what's happening now. They're gearing up to unleash on Iran. So this could be the end of Iran. I don't know. And and another person, I was watching the news earlier, another man made a good point. He said, if they end Iran, that might also spark up anger in the Arab nations to start all coming against Israel and America. You understand? Because who's next? You know? Or it could be like the analogy I gave earlier. You once were living in your culture and you had your way of doing things, and the evil that poured into your country and into your wife and into your kids, and then they had kids and they had kids. At some point you like, hey, what the hell happened? How did I end up here? We need to go back to where we were and how we used to live. Look, my daughters are whores. My sons and grandsons, they're fruity tooty boys. My niece, she's overweight from eating American McDonald's or KFC. They start to realize that this American thing is not a good thing. This American culture is not a good thing. Look what it has done to black people. If you look at us, we never used to be obese and dying from the diseases we're dying from, like breast cancer and diabetes and high blood pressure and stroke and heart disease. We never used to do that. We never used to encourage our women to delete children while they were 3 months pregnant. We didn't do these things. So a lot of the other countries outside of America who has drunk the titty milk of America, now they're seeing that this is not good. They say that these drugs and these vaccinations will help us and our children, but in the long run, we're seeing a spike in side effects from these jabs. We're seeing side effects. We're seeing our children act totally out of pocket. They're starting to see these things. But by then, the poison is so deep, they can't get out of it. Because it's so deep that your own people will say, we like this. We like our women dressing like men. We like women ruling over men. We like eating bad food. We like going against God's dietary law. We like that. Leave us alone. The Bible is played out, and in the terms of the Quran, that's played out. You know, I looked up. I was listening to a Roman soldier. I'm sorry, Roman soldier. I'm definitely tired, man. I was listening to a general, an American general, and he was saying that in Iran, less and less people are going to mosque and reading the Quran. I couldn't believe it, so I looked it up. And he was 100%. I'm gonna look it up and see if I can find it. But he was right, you know. He was right. I couldn't believe it, and that can affect the morale of the people. You know, or from Islam. I'm gonna look that up. I'm gonna show you. Let me see if it comes up. Look it up in AI. Look at that. Let me show you right quick. That's insane. It says, gotta bear with me. I'm using this OBS. Where am I at? Okay. Says significant evidence suggests a shift away from Orthodox Islam within Iran, with many citizens, particularly the youth, becoming more and more secular or turning toward alternative faiths, despite the state's official 99% Muslim figures. See that? And it's the same thing in America. More and more people are turning away from religion or the Bible or Christian beliefs. It's the same thing, and I believe it's a demonic plague. Not that I'm pushing Islam. I'm just trying to show you, at least with Islam, there are certain morals that run parallel with Scripture. There are certain spiritual guidelines or guardrails where you can't do the things that the European white man does in America, the UK, or wherever he's at. Surveys indicate a growing desire for separation of religion and state, with some studies showing a large, mostly uncounted secular population. Check that out. Isn't that something? So you're going to have things being done that shouldn't be done because people turn away from their culture. They want to be Americans. I'm not saying in Iran they want to be Americans. Well, it wouldn't surprise me, though. I'm simply saying that systems break down after a while. Cultures break down after a while. The proper way of living, they break down after a while. This is why when a lot of Hispanics come to this country, America, they break down after a while. The nuclear family starts to evaporate after a while. It's true. Secularism and religion decline. A 2020 German survey found that only 32% of respondents identified as Shiite Muslims. 32%? In Iran? Maybe this is wrong. I don't know. Maybe it's a lie. Of respondents identified as Shiite Muslims, while roughly 40% totally identified as Muslims. Another study found that 85% of Iranians feel they have become less religious over the last 5 years. Another study that 85% of Iranians feel they have become less religious over the last 5 years. Isn't that something? How crazy is that? So, this is a hell of a thing. This is a hell of a thing.
Warning sirens, and you can hear explosions in the background. That is Israel, as their defense system is stopping so much of the incoming. Much of the Middle East is on high alert. This is day 4.
I don't know if it's true, but I heard that. I know brothers are gonna get on me for this. They're gonna say, "I don't have a question." I know they're gonna get on me. I heard they was initially they were shooting. Let me get my face up for this because I know brothers are gonna be mad at this. I heard initially that Iran was shooting 80 missiles a day, 80 missiles a day, and now because of low stockpiles of missiles, they're doing only 20 missiles a day in Israel, shooting from Iran to Israel, 20 missiles a day. I don't know if that's true. Maybe it's a lie. They both sides be lying. But it wouldn't surprise me because the first attack in June, it went something like that. They had a barrage of missiles, and then it went down in count. So I could be wrong. I'm just telling you what I heard. What I heard. I also heard that Israel is shooting. I'm not Israel. Iran is shooting the whack cheap missiles first, but they have even more of the heavy duty stuff underground, and they're saving that for last. So that's what I heard. That's what I heard. There's so many things flying around, you don't know what to believe. So I'm just saying, we're going to wait and see how things play out. But I also heard the Saudis, they're ready to get involved, man, because they mad. They tried to hit the Saudi space area where, they're pumping oil out of. They trying to get in the Saudis' pockets. They're not going for that. They're not going to go for that. But so that in itself is interesting. But let's check it out, see what's going on.
Or of Operation Epic Fury and Operation Roaring Lion, which is the Israeli part of what you see now. Iran and its terror proxies are escalating retaliatory attacks, striking Israel and now most of the Gulf nations.
You hear that? So in this article, that I was reading earlier, let me see if I can find it. They were saying that, they apologized this morning for attacking the Saudi areas and the neighboring countries. You understand? Here it is. It says, those dreaming of Iran's unconditional surrender will take that dream to their graves, President Mossad Pezeshkian said on Saturday amid U.S. Israel airstrikes. He added that Iran will not carry out attacks or missile strikes against neighboring countries. See that? Against neighboring countries, against Iran originate from those countries. Let me read it again. It says, he added that Iran will not carry out attacks or missile strikes against neighboring countries unless an attack against Iran originates from those countries. They also apologized earlier in the article I read earlier. You understand? But the point is, that was a big mistake. It was a good strategic move, but it was a big mistake. They should have thought that out more in depth. But you know what I also read? Also, it said that those attacks on the neighboring countries, it was BS though. They're trying to say that wasn't the decision of the president of Iran. Those were people who didn't know what to do. They felt it was the best thing to do. So, yeah, I don't know. So that's a whole different thing, So I don't know. We got to wait and see how that plays out. But nonetheless, we just saw, according to this, the Saudis are ready to get down, as well as other countries. Look at these are all hot spots they're hitting. Look, Kuwait, Iraq, Syria. So that should play out very, very seriously.
If you can believe that. Now, when we first saw this, we thought, is that on purpose? Didn't really know what to make of it. Day 4, Iran is unleashing on their neighbors at this point. U.S. embassies and bases are also under fire. I'm Harris Faulkner. You are in the Faulkner Focus. Israel is moving fast to destroy Tehran's missile capabilities. The Israeli Defense Force is also launching simultaneous strikes in Tehran and Lebanon, in Beirut. The conflict is rapidly expanding now, and Iran is destroying any goodwill it may have had in that region. Gulf states are seeing hundreds of Iranian rockets, missiles, and drones fired by Iran. President Trump posted just this morning, Iran's air defense, Air Force, Navy, and leadership gone. They want to talk. I said too late. The U.S. embassies in the region are.
They said that's a lie, though. As far as now they're trying to backtrack and they, going to kiss Trump's ass and say we want to talk. They said that's a lie. So that very well might be a lie. But the point is, if Iran can cause chaos in the neighboring countries, or the world rather, and stop the oil flow, then they got a shot. But how that oil moves, America is going to do its best to get it out. They're going to do their best to get it out because oil is very much needed. It's very much needed. Even China depends on that oil. They depended on the oil in Venezuela, and they pissed. They pissed, man. So here, you got, this is where China gets her oil from. It was Russia, the biggest. It says China's top crude oil suppliers in 2025. So Russia was a big dog, but now Russia is blocked off, and Russia used to get a lot of oil from Iran, and Venezuela. You understand? But they blocked that. And Russia was sneakily getting oil from Venezuela. I forgot. I did a video on this some time ago, and a few months ago, and they broke down how they was getting the oil from Venezuela into Russia. But that's a no deal now because America is blocking them. See, they all block. They're playing a damn strategic. You can't have oil. You can't have food. You can't have A, B, and C. You see what's happening in Cuba? No power, no oil. Look at Iraq, Malaysia. Then you have the small countries, Kuwait, Angola. Oh man, all this affects the world, man. All this affects the world. And like I mentioned some time ago, the Most High is an excellent chess player. You're not going to beat the Most High. He's an excellent chess player. So I advise brothers and sisters to watch the news tonight and let's see how this thing plays out. This should be very interesting how this plays out. And it's all in the hands of the Most High. It's in the hands of the Most High. And we're going to see. Will it open the doors to World War III? It just might. It just might. Or maybe it won't. But don't sell the matzahs in the menorah on this is World War III we're in. We are not in World War III, and we're not in no damn Jacob's trouble. Stop that foolishness. That's just absolute foolishness. Stop that. We're not in Jacob's trouble. Got dudes ordering dominoes as we speak. Oh, we're in Jacob's trouble. It's the worst it's ever been. You ordering dominoes, and you sit on your damn couch watching women's basketball and drinking damn Hennessy. Stop this foolishness. Ain't no missiles dropping on your roof and you hiding behind garbage cans and running down the block with your kids and whatnot. That's Jacob's trouble. When people trying to kill your ass, that's Jacob's trouble. Tell me about Jacob's trouble when the sleeper cells is blowing you the hell up. Then you could tell me that's not even Jacob's trouble, but then you could cry. You understand? Well, brothers and sisters, that's all I got for you right now. See you, brothers and sisters, probably tomorrow or the day after. You be safe, you be strong, and if you're traveling, be very careful. I would advise you to stay home, but be very careful, and as far as New York City, California, Florida, those are the main countries I think they want to hit the sleeper cells. Just be very careful out there, especially in large crowds, because, we ain't seen nothing yet. People hate America. They hate America, and they associate us with America. So be very careful out there because this is really starting to heat up. All right, brothers and sisters, I'll talk to you later. Stay strong. Keep me in your prayers.